welcome back to Scry-fi. We're talking about episode 5 of the Acolyte. Episode 5 is called Night. Last episode was Day. And so we're starting off at nighttime here. We actually saw the sun going down right at the end of the last one.
Yeah, I kind of suspected they might do that.
Yeah.
I didn't think about it until you said day on the last one. But.
Yeah, I hadn't really paid attention to it because Day is such a like the title meant nothing to me at the time, right?
Yeah.
However, you would think, if they're doing day and night. So the day, this episode, by the way, if you haven't seen episode 5, Night, watch that first.
We're assuming you've seen it.
Yeah, this is going to be full of spoilers. And this is the one to not spoil, I think, so far at least.
Right, of course. We were talking last time about how the last one didn't have a lot to it other than, cool scenes, but it would have been better, I think, because it was so short to put these together and have the title be Day/Night.
Right.
They had those other titles with the slash.
Oh, that's interesting.
Kind of feels like maybe they were thinking that at first. I don't know. But we find out that I was right about my
about Quimmer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, everybody suspected it. I was hoping it wasn't, but the problem is and first of all, I love this episode. I don't want to be like, oh, problem, blah,
yeah,
blah,
I loved it too. And I really don't think they thought that it would necessarily be a huge surprise. Like I thought in the last episode, they were really broadcasting it. Now, to guess it back at the very beginning, I think most people probably didn't do that like I did, but but certainly by last episode, I think a lot of people, it was natural for a lot of people. And I can't imagine they'd be surprised by that, the makers of the show.
I mean, the problem with it also is that there's just nobody else it could have been.
Right.
It would have just been some.
When you have a whodunit, there's only one other person,
Right.
It's not going to be Soul.
Right.
What if that was the secret he was hiding the whole time, We still know he's hiding something that we don't know about, but
right.
Yeah.
Well, so yeah, it starts off with Osha waking up and kind of wandering around, and
I was scared at first they were going to do what you were saying and like skipped over it, but it turns out it's still going on. She must have just been out for like a minute or so.
Yeah, no, I was afraid she'd wake up and everybody's gone and she'd have to find out some other, and we walk her story of just walking through the forest all night and blah, blah, blah. And then the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm glad they got to it.
First time we start to see, what's that thing there in her hand?
That's her droid.
Okay. Right. So first time we start to see what she's seeing when she sees the lightsabers going.
Yeah, the noise of the lightsabers start creeping into the background.
They were so subtle at first, it almost seemed like one of those visions or something, like she was remembering the past. But yeah,
that seems pretty cool.
The moves in this little short sequence here that you could see through the trees, the part that they let you see.
Right, this part?
Yeah. So I thought that might have been Plo Koon, but now I'm
obviously not.
It's not.
I think the head's smaller. I almost wonder if it's a female.
I thought, it's young Plo Koon or something. Oh,
sure.
But it could just be a smaller person. But either way, so some other Keldor, which is what Plo Koon is. But yeah, the shish kebab, the Jedi shish kebab.
Where he pulls the guy into it.
Yeah, pulls the other guy on.
I'm surprised that doesn't happen even more often. I guess normally you don't want somebody with a lightsaber also coming towards you like that.
Well,
because they could stab you at the same time. But he has that person as a shield. It was kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, in general, when you look at Jedis or Force users lightsaber fighting, your first thought is like, how come they don't force choke? How come they don't do this? And I think that the pushing and pulling and the choking and all that stuff is stuff that you can do when you really outrank somebody in terms of power. But when you're about equal, it's kind of like counterproductive, or it's not worth your effort because they're just going to resist. Right. It won't go to anything.
I always felt like if you're prepared to block it, you can, right? If you have the ability, the force ability.
Yeah. So somebody who's about your level,
Right.
you're not going to be doing that a lot. But he obviously is more powerful than most of these Jedi here.
Like with OSHA, he goes, "Bloop," like any other Jedi could be like, oh, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And then he waited
even
for
what he
all the
did to
Jedi to
them,
rush
pushing them
him
back.
before he did it because they couldn't. Yeah.
And did you notice when she gets up and looks around, there's that scratch revealing the
Yeah.
red earth underneath
Yeah.
the forest floor of all the directions?
That right there.
That was really cool. And I could tell that's what that was from. But, I know we'll get into it later, but they were really bold with all the main character deaths.
Oh, yeah. It was crazy. So we never even got to know who this guy was.
This dude, not surprising, he's like a red shirt.
Red shirt Jedi. They should have changed the shirts and just be red just for gold shirt. Yeah, so this guy's already dead. We didn't get to see his death. I wonder how that actor feels. Like, man, I wonder if they filmed it and then did other stuff,
Yeah, you never know. If you ever appear in Star Wars, I'm sure they make you sign thing that says we can make all kinds of things about you and stuff using your face and
Oh yeah.
Who knows what will be revealed.
I mean, this guy's going to have his own comic book at some point.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't already, we know there's already comics and books and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So it starts off with one of them dead already. So I guess he's the first one that got up and ran to him and got chopped down.
Right.
And then that's where you see the lightsabers go. I don't know how that's not the first thing you see anyway. She must be dazed or something,
Yeah, probably.
But that was a cool scene. Just all this stuff happening through here.
Yeah, all that stuff there. The way he moves and everything, very cool.
Yord even says later all his movements were erratic and blah blah blah. And I think
like that.
They're used to fighting people where they can sense the force and see where they're going.
And the only Jedi, the only people that they train against with fighting lightsaber to lightsaber are other Jedis
using the same forms and all that stuff. Yeah, his fighting was ducking under and he was even doing slithery kind of movements and stuff.
That reminded me of how Palpatine fights with the spinning and the weird movements and all this. Yeah.
Yeah.
The chaotic nature of it kind of throws them off.
Yeah. And I feel like there's probably, he's putting out stuff that blocks
and he said,
things.
And he gets in your head and stays
there.
Yeah. That made me think of, you remember just before Qui-Gon Jinn died, they fought a little bit. He hits him in the nose and then stabs him. But just before that, you hear like that. And Qui-Gon kind of looks at him real weird and confused. You could tell he was getting into his head.
Yeah, you can see him what is going on here? Yeah, I've always thought the same thing.
There's something weird going on there, and it's a similar thing. I think it's a dark side thing,
Yeah, I think it's kind of you remember those. In fact, it kind of happens. It does happen here. You remember, or you know about the kind of dueling. I think it was popular in maybe 17th century French. Or maybe 16th century, where they would use their cloak, half cloak, where they would hide their movements and stuff like that.
I've heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So he even kind of throws the cloak into Soul's face at one point and does something like that, which is interesting. But it makes me think they're using the Force in that way as disguise. You think I'm over here, but now I come out this way, and
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. And then, of course, also in this battle scene, we see two of the Jedi hit him, I think, on a bracer in his helmet, and their lightsabers go out. They short circuit.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what that was at first. I had heard of cortosis.
Right.
From legend stuff, but I only knew cortosis like Beskar. I knew it was resistant to lightsabers, but I didn't know it had that property until later, finding out that it. So that's what he's got there in his helmet is cortosis.
Yeah.
Bracer.
And it definitely gives him the edge. Yeah, this is where they.
Yeah, they're like, what happened? And then they came
Yeah,
back on for a few seconds. Yeah, right there. He does a bracer, and then he does his head like that to intercepts it with his head.
I know who. Man, the confidence to headbutt a lightsaber.
Yeah. Yeah. And then one time he's even hold it. He's like pressing against, like similar to this scene, and he does like that.
Yeah,
Later on, you see that.
Yord saved the day right there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, until she dies later, but he did a good job.
I found out that his fans are called the Yord Horde.
Horde.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I really did not expect him to go.
And he got killed without a weapon. So it could be done. So, okay, so we could talk forever about how awesome all these moves and stuff were. This is the shish kebab moment, right?
And very cool to, after all these years to be able to come up with a Sith that feels Sith and feels original and unique and interesting, and not just a rehash of something we've seen before.
Well, and we'll get into this, but is he Sith? Is he really Sith? All that stuff.
Yeah,
I feel like he's kind of like an
wannabe, like a Neo Sith or something.
I think if he wants to be, he would be like, I am a Sith. But instead, I think he's kind of an offshoot.
Says you would call me Sith.
Yeah.
Maybe he's like a Ventress. Somebody like
that.
Who was
we know that Sith,
but not really allowed to become a Sith.
Yeah, we know that Sith have a very specific religious kind of connotation to them. They have saying and stuff. It's just like the Jedi. They have their structures and philosophies and all that stuff. And it makes me think think of a kid who like grew up in the church, but then goes off and has their own kind of their version of their beliefs.
All kinds of denominations,
their own personal kind of thing. Yeah,
offshoots.
They might not even consider themselves part of whatever that church used to be, but they still have that. Like that's what makes me feel like
maybe he was never one of a chain of two that's been going since Spain.
Right, and he might just have like that back. We already know that they do the thing "peace is a lie," like he said that in I think the first episode, right?
Yeah.
So we already know there's some
failed apprentice or somebody who,
right.
Yeah, but he just as well could be a Sith as well too.
In fact, Darth Maul, and if you watch Clone Wars and Rebels and stuff, sorry for that spoiler, but he's still around. Darth Maul later on kind of abandons the Sith way of doing things and just kind of wants to be his own powerful being.
And of course, he's still used the dark side.
Oh yeah, of course.
And then there's tons of dark side users out there that are from other traditions, and
the witches.
Jedi would have no reason to open up a history book thousands of years ago and go, it must be the Sith.
Right. Yeah, and so
of course,
is he Sith? Isn't he?
So
what was that?
Here's the word Sith out of his lips, says, I'm Sith. But does Soul get back alive? Does he have some reason to keep this from the Order? We don't know that yet. Yeah.
And I also wonder, so if Soul, I mean, he does get to the ship. We know that at the very end of the episode. So I would think he would immediately go, it's a Sith. We should have told the High Council.
Well, there was that thing in the last episode where they're saying, we don't need to report this yet. And
now they do.
Yeah.
But I also wonder if he thinks it really is a Sith. Because like I said, if you're a Sith, you say, I'm a Sith. Like, haha.
Yeah.
Not, you'd call me a Sith, but I don't see myself as a Sith. Like, that's a weird thing.
Like, I don't consider myself a Sith anymore, but you'd say I was because I'm so similar, or I had interactions with them, or I learned things from them, or something like that.
And we say all this because in episode 1, they say the Sith have not been heard from in 1,000 years, right?
Right.
Well, if they eventually go, okay, this guy was like an offshoot, or he found some book or something, or whatever it was,
right?
Then they would still think, the Sith. Yeah, exactly.
And he learned from that, and so he's not really a Sith, but Sith.
I mean,
aficionado.
Yeah, I mean, the Sith are like a group, a religious movement in a
Yeah.
way, a cult, whatever it is. But it's a philosophy, and if they think eventually that he's not part of that, they wouldn't have counted that. But
Yeah.
splitting hairs is
Of how many teenagers think they're something, and so then they want to pretend they're a Sith in the Star Wars universe. You know what
right.
I mean? There's
Yeah.
probably lots of that.
Now, this part was pretty cool. She shoots him. He's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Not
not
even.
even phased. He notices it at least.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that's scary.
It just turns.
Saying, yeah, and then the correct reaction is to run, as she does after that.
Is that blaster only a stun gun, or
yeah,
only set on stun? Oh,
I think so, because the barrel is a big circle, like the circles that come out.
Oh,
Now, I guess maybe the middle could do a normal blast, but they hand it to her as a civilian, and I would think the Jedi wouldn't be handing out weapons.
Yeah, maybe it's a stun gun. I would believe that.
Yeah, I mean
I
think
seen
they call
it
it
fire normally, right?
Yeah. So this whole thing between her and Yord, I was kind of like, do we have to keep going to this? Go back to the
bored.
Yeah, I was like, get back to the lightsaber battle. It's happening between Soul and
But eventually they decide to come back, so I guess that makes it relevant. But
it was cool to finally see the thrown lightsaber thing.
Yeah, that was cool.
Because that's been in video games for a long time.
Well, Darth Vader kind of did it in Return of the Jedi, but the distance was so short, you didn't really get to see the full effect. It just
right.
Went,
and what was the first one where what's his name can become a Jedi in the video games? Can't remember it now. Jedi
old game.
Yeah. So in that one, you could actually throw the lightsaber and direct it and make it come back to you. That was awesome. I love seeing that in here.
So that's what this was. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. And the trees going down, that was fun. It had a kind of like old kung fu style or samurai animation kind of thing where they go past the trees and then you see the bamboo fall.
Yeah.
So it is interesting to me, like the conversation they have here. Like he keeps saying, "Take off your mask. Show me who you are."
Yeah. He says, "What kind of master wears a mask or whatever like that to his student?" And he says, "You tell me." And so he's like, "You're wearing a mask of sorts,
right?
Not what you pretend."
And Solon understands what he means. There's a
but we
little
don't.
bit of.
But for some reason, should we still call him Quidditch or whatever his name is?
Quidditch, Quimmer.
Yeah.
Well, the other name we have is Master, so Quimmer's fine.
So anyway, that dude, he seems to know. So how does he know? Who is he? There were no other children on that planet.
I imagine if he knows the truth, then he must assume the Jedi lied. Otherwise, she wouldn't have stayed with him. If the Jedi really did just murder her whole family,
maybe he did it.
I don't think he's old enough to do it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He would have been a little kid then too. His master, whoever taught him these Sith powers.
Maybe, but I really feel like he's the Sith don't.
Oh, wait a minute.
The Sith use lies to hide, but I don't think they. I think they like to use the truth to twist it.
You've got these two kids who've been created through some weird means.
Okay.
And the Jedi sense it or found out about it or came to investigate it, whatever, and then eventually they show up at this planet. Meanwhile, there's Sith out there. They feel this too, and they come as well. So they came at the same time. The master and apprentice, or maybe just one of them came at the same time the Jedi did and wanted those kids as well. So it was like they wanted the kids and they wanted the kids. They didn't get them. They went out and got this other dude told him about what happened.
Yeah, I think that breaks everything that they're trying to set up, which is basically the Jedi messed up.
Well, they did mess
and
up in some
and they've
way.
been hiding it.
I think they messed up in some way, but it wasn't murdering a whole clan of people. I doubt that. You know, we're gonna just find out that they're just outright villains. I kind of doubt that. I think what they're
I
blaming
mean,
themselves for is allowing something to escalate to a point that it shouldn't have had to escalate to.
maybe, but I mean, we also know those witches can attack without lightsabers. We saw them take over the Padawan's eye, mind and stuff. So they have other abilities. I don't know.
Yeah, in which case that's different than just slaughtering them. You know, if they're fighting you and you got to defend yourself,
Sure.
but you'd still feel bad about that.
Yeah, it is interesting to think that possibly the Jedi altered her memory of what happened there.
Yeah.
Because remember,
She
we
said
didn't
they
see.
brainwashed you. Does that mean that the scene we saw of her setting that fire was a false?
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when she told May, like, you killed him and stuff, she was like, they brainwashed you. That's not what happened at all. Like, not
What?
I didn't mean to set the fire or anything like that.
What if there was a shapeshifter there? What if there was? I mean, what if the Sith were there and they created an illusion? Yeah.
I hope the Sith aren't involved, or whatever this guy
We know
is.
they're involved.
No, I mean, I hope they're
guy
not involved in that origin.
Right, but even if this guy isn't a Sith himself, he has been in contact with Sith and Sith philosophy somehow. Somewhere.
Sure. I'm just saying, I hope this guy or whatever was not part of the fire that caused all this stuff. I hope he just came in afterwards and picked up the ashes, so to speak.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's possible for him to be there for whoever this Sith is to be there doing stuff, and for the Jedi to have done something shameful and bad that they shouldn't have done. You know?
Yeah. Well, my favorite. This was a great moment too. My favorite thing about this series so far is the idea that the Jedi have a system in place that causes these bad things to happen in a way. Like even Quimmer says, you don't allow me to live, so I have to do these things. I have to kill you all.
Well, okay. So the ladies, the coven or whatever, had a good point about we should be able to do our business.
Yeah.
But if you're going to be a Sith, no, you shouldn't be allowed to do your business and mind your own business, because you're going to be enslaving people, killing people. That's like a terrorist saying I should be allowed to do what I want.
Right. He's the extreme version of that. But the problem is that the Jedi are so extreme that if you do anything with the Force and you're not Jedi, we're putting the law down, we're stamping you out, we're pushing you out, all that stuff. They've gone so extreme.
Why the Jedi pulled back, because they were being too domineering over everything in the galaxy, and that was causing a problem.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Interesting. If that was the reason,
the tighter you close your fist, the more systems will slip through your fingers.
That makes a lot of sense. If they had such preeminence over the galaxy that they felt like they needed to control wild Force users, I could see the good motivation behind that. But it just makes everybody else feel that's this dogma controlling everything. And they could have learned their lesson and pulled back because of that. That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, so back to the episode, this part where Jackie comes flying out and kicks her. I love that moment where she starts, okay, I think I can get out of here. And then she took Kaneka's lightsaber and she just comes flying out.
Boom. Yeah.
Whole body kick.
Another character that was such a shame to see go, but
she is my favorite character in this series.
Yeah.
And it's not because of everything that they had, but it's like the potential that I saw eventually. I was hoping we'd see like another Ahsoka kind of thing where we could watch her at this point. Maybe they'd have another series later where she's an older Jedi.
Nord.
Yeah. Yord.
With him and Yord, all that capital they're building up about their characters turned out to be capital that was really being built up to show you how evil the master is.
Sure, of course. And
Give me.
it's also to make you kind of hate him, because up until this point, honestly, like the guys that the Jedi's in the background that he drops, you're like, oh, well, that just shows that he's good. Like, I have no
It was
connection
important
with
to
those
have
people.
it be characters that you knew and cared about.
Yeah. But at the same time, he's a really cool bad guy. I hate that I was more mad at the writers for killing Jack Ethan.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Did you watch The Good Place, right? That this
Yeah.
actor has been before. It's such a contrast, and
Yeah,
it's
I know.
so cool how creepy he is in a evil role. It's very neat.
Yeah,
very cool character.
Yeah, he did a really great job. Also, it's weird. He does not look like when he was playing Quimmer, the little alchemist guy or whatever. He didn't look jacked or anything, but when you see his bare arm, it's just like, muscle. Like,
he's covering up his arms. He had baggy clothes on.
Yeah, like
What's cool too is that in Star Wars, everybody has these helmets and outfits and everything, but once you understand the Star Wars universe and you kind of get inside of it, you can see there's reasons for this stuff. Like Boba Fett always wore a helmet because everybody would recognize a clone, and he didn't want to be thought of that way. Mandalorian wears the helmet for that reason. So Darth Vader has a helmet because he has, burned up, whatever. So they all have their reasons for this stuff. And so then when you look at his reason, he's using the advantage of the cortosis. But then there's two other reasons I can think of. One, so that he can do just what he did, take the helmet off and be someone else when he needs to be.
Right.
And infiltrate and spy and all that.
Yeah.
And then two, maybe if I understand it right, he said something like, "Why are you wearing a helmet?" Soul did. And he said, like, "Why don't you take it off?" And then he said, "So you can read my mind," or whatever.
Yeah.
What if the cortosis also kind of blocks mental stuff?
Well, I was kind of curious if the cortosis did it, or if it's just Jedi need to be looking you in the eyes.
If you look at the face, it makes it easier to...
Because when he starts looking through her thoughts in episode 2, I think it is, when he starts looking through May's thoughts, they're looking eye to eye.
Same thing with Kylo Ren and Rey.
Yeah, eye to eye, getting in there. Yeah.
That's a good point, yeah.
So... another reason to wear it's the whole Magneto
thing. It's the window to the soul. You hide your eyes.
Why Magneto wears the helmet to keep Professor X out,
Yeah.
That's interesting. So does that mean he can then read his thoughts once the helmet comes off?
Maybe it makes it easier. I'm sure he can resist, and then they compete with each other and, arm wrestle with their mind.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, the whole bringing back the flying things and stuff that she has, like,
that was neat. I like that.
It was a neat idea, but she said they're attracted to the light, but they weren't last time. Like, they didn't show that in the daytime.
Well, there was only the one that got disturbed and woke up.
Right. So how'd she know that?
Little sleeping, hugging the tree, no big deal. But if they're out there flying around and they see light, then they'll come to it.
But there's no mention of it in the episode before.
There was only the one in the episode before that was active. And then he came in and tried to attack, and they killed him. So how would you even...
How would she even know is my question.
Oh.
We saw that whole thing that she did. So how does she know that they're attracted to light when we wouldn't have known from that?
Maybe it's just general biology. She sees them coming. She looks at the...
I feel like something got cut.
And she says, "Oh, they're attracted to light." They turned the light out, and then it seemed to work. I don't know. She could have just been voicing her theory.
I don't know. So this part was really cool. She finds the other lightsaber, puts it back there, and it comes into play later.
By the way, it would have been cool if... what's the Wookiee's name?
Kanaka.
Kanaka's lightsaber had been wood.
Oh,
like other Wookiee lightsaber.
So there is one complaint I have about the Kanaka thing, and this was last episode, which was they seem to have been promising a Wookiee Jedi fight, and instead he got killed in his chair. I mean,
know. I wanted so much more of Kanaka.
Yeah.
But
Why couldn't Kanaka just not be home?
Scenes,
What was that?
Maybe we'll still see some flashback scenes. He would have been one of the 4, right?
We can't keep asking for flashback scenes to give us. I mean, I don't know.
I'm still hoping for a cool. I mean, we still have the mystery. What happened? So I think when they tell the audience what happened, it's going to be a flashback, and that's when hopefully we'll get more Carrie and Moss, and we'll get more of him.
Yeah, it just there's constant. Oh, this is like a cool thing, and then they kill it off in the first scene before you even get to see anything good.
Well, I think they know this is a mini series. This isn't meant to be.
Sure, but you show a Wookiee Jedi, and people want to see that thing in action. That's all I'm saying.
True.
But yeah, I mean, and I don't know why they didn't write it that way. The Wookiee wasn't always at home. We know this. They showed him twice going out and doing stuff, right? So what if he just wasn't home whenever she got there? And then
he shows up and he's part of this battle.
Yeah, he could have come running through the forest, and
cool.
that would have been awesome. Yeah, I mean, not to say this episode wasn't awesome. I was just looking forward to a Wookiee Jedi fight. So, but I did think it was pretty cool what they did here. She didn't even know Kaneka was dead, so I'm guessing she knows there. Her fighting this guy, I mean, I was like, man, she was pretty
good for a Padawan.
I know. I mean, she even kicked him in the face at one point, and eventually she gets his helmet off.
Uh-huh.
She pays for it with her life, but yeah. Still, she was like much better than the other
I wonder
Jedi.
if inside the helmet he's got some holographic Iron Man type, because you can't see through that. If that's a slit, even I don't even know if it's a slit. It'd be no way to see through that.
I think it is, but yeah, I mean, he must have some kind of readout thing. Either that, or he's just using the Force the whole time.
Interesting.
Don't trust your eyes; they can deceive you. But yeah, some of the moves and stuff in here, she was awesome.
This is wonderful fighting. I mean,
I know.
The best ever,
It's just so smooth and
great choreography through all of these scenes.
Yes. I know. I love the battles in here, but she was just on them, constant moving.
Yeah. And it didn't look like some weird animation or something. It looked like a real person doing this.
She was very aggressive too.
Yeah.
She was not as reserved as Soul was. She was just screaming like, just charging in.
Mm-hmm.
I liked her a lot. I'm sorry they had to kill her. They didn't have to, I guess, but yeah. This is really good.
Crazy.
And then he's gone.
That's why she should have had a lightsaber hilt.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too that he just disappears because he's just constantly on Osha and May.
And really cool music too. With mysterious sounding music when he disappears.
Yeah. So they finally convince Yor to go do the right thing again, go back and help. And he catches up to May. Ooh, that's a good picture. And then they fight again. More fighting. I mean, I don't mean to make that sound like, like it's a bad thing. But I mean, like,
here's where you find out though. Like when he kills, go back a little ways because he kills, what's her face? You just had it there a little while.
Jackie?
Yeah, that's the first time he separates his saber.
Yeah, I wanted to show that part real quick.
And what's interesting about it is it's not like I don't think it's like Darth Maul's where it goes out both ends and you can break it in two.
It's more like a little dagger.
You can't break Darth Maul's in two, but yeah, it's like it separates and I don't know. Maybe the beam even comes out the same side instead of the opposite. I couldn't tell for sure, but he doesn't use it double bladed at least. And then the blade is shorter when it's like this, like both of them is shorter.
Yeah. Well, there's the Ketosis bracer.
Yeah.
So there he goes.
Yeah, you can see him. Oh, see, he takes it off, and then what? Yeah, see, the blade comes out of the very end that connects.
Right. So it's not a double-sided.
Yeah.
It's like having a small dagger inside your sword
And
that you
then both
pull
of
out.
the blades, I think, are shorter after that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, even the original blade is shorter now.
Yeah, I felt the same way. No, she was so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did such a great job. It's too bad that because she's a Padawan. If she were a Jedi, you could be like, oh, you could go back and show her as a Padawan and stuff. But this is pretty much probably the only, at least film story we'll get, film or show.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be, her character will be in other things and stuff. But it was so this is the thing. It's like a cool way to reveal him.
Yeah.
But we already knew it was him, pretty much,
Yeah.
Hoping it wasn't kind of thing. But,
he's just suddenly there. It's like Superman at Niagara Falls. Falls,
Right.
You just happen to be here with
You
Clark.
happen to be around.
Yeah.
Pay no attention to my Clark Kent. Yeah. You telling me that hair didn't get in your way inside the helmet?
It has automatic tractor beams that go.
A little arm to go. That's why it really helped. to keep the hair out of his face. So I think there's something that gets misinterpreted here, where before with the helmet on, Soul says there's something familiar about you. I think people were saying, oh, maybe they know each other from the past or something.
You think it's just because of seeing him in that
shop?
shop?
He just saw him like in a shop or something. Yeah. I don't think there's any connection.
That could be the case, except for the fact that he obviously knows something about what Soul did or what Soul's hiding.
Yeah, but I think he knows that through May.
Yeah, maybe. I feel like he told May stuff,
I think May told her story. He twisted it for a while. Now, this moment where he says, are you going to tell me you really didn't think it was me at any point in time? I feel like everybody else did. And so it's almost like you really can't tell Clark Kent to Superman without the glasses. Is there a reason to point that out even more, I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, look, you didn't realize how jacked this dude was.
No, I mean, I think he was wearing something pretty loose, So.
Nobody gets jacked like that without the Force. So also there's some
arms up pretty high. You're going to hurt your own arm when that goes through the head.
Yeah. There's some weird things about this. Like, he kind of makes fun of Soul, like, you attacked me even though my back was turned, but he was holding a hostage. I think that's.
I know it's kind of silly.
Yeah. It's kind of like whenever someone kind of like points out all the laws of whatever someone else believes in, like, you're doing this wrong, so you're wrong in all your beliefs, and you're doing it, and they're just getting it wrong.
Overly extreme quite understand. Level of impracticality. Yeah.
Right. Oh, you did this one little thing, so all that. It's
That'd
him trying to find
the cowboy thing of you're not supposed to shoot somebody in the back, so I'm going to come at you with my back turned like this, right? So you can't shoot
me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's like whenever you're outside of it and you're trying to convince someone that, oh, what you do is dumb or whatever, like you're getting it wrong. They're saying, well, this and this and this, and that's not.
There's obvious
caveats
and things, and
I love that they took time out for him to talk about like his perspective of this stuff. He's not allowed to live and all that stuff as he wants to be. Maybe he did. Maybe he was Sith, and then, like you said, he was a failed acolyte himself, and He just wants to go off and do his own thing. He was, as far as they know, not killing a bunch of people and stuff. The problem is that where his argument falls apart is that he sent his acolyte out to kill Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what exposed him, all of this.
Yeah.
If they just hung out on their planet and did their own little dark force stuff and all, that's fine. No one would have ever known, right?
Do you think the reason he was having her try to kill a Jedi without a weapon was not just so that as a challenge to get past, but also that way you're not leaving a lightsaber scar that they might go, whoa, this person was killed with a lightsaber, you know?
Well, she didn't have a lightsaber anyway.
No, I know, but
right.
I'm not going to give you a lightsaber because I don't want you out there, you know, using
No, I mean, as far as I know, it comes from the comic books where Darth Vader was challenged in the same way. I think it's a Sith tradition.
Oh, okay.
The hard thing is, though, doing that exposed him, right? And his whole thing was to try to, like, not be exposed. But maybe, I think he did it on purpose. I think he's tired of hiding. And especially with May's story, he sees so much hypocrisy with the Jedi. I think he wants that out.
Well, you know what might happen? It might be that, you know, he's trying to kill everybody here to tie up the loose ends. He even said that, like, now that you know, I can't let anybody.
Right.
But the fact that he failed and Soul's getting away could activate a real Sith or a Master Sith to say, wait a minute, you're about to expose us. I have to come down now. And
you think he's not the Master Sith?
I don't know. But there could be somebody above him that's going to come in and has to fix his screw up here.
Yeah, it's interesting that he says all I want is an acolyte and to live.
Maybe he wants an acolyte to help him beat the master.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been thinking about that too, is with the Sith, like, why do they always have to have an apprentice when they know that apprentice is going to try to kill them?
It's part of the tradition. Right.
Not only is it part of the tradition, but I think the dark side is such a painful place. You kind of don't want to be alone in it. You know? I feel like there's a human
well,
element.
How do you
to
exert
it.
your power over someone if you're just alone?
Sure, but I think there's a certain human element in where you have to hide everything about yourself, and you want at least one person that you can be your true self with, or something like that, right? And then, of course, you have to suddenly fear their.
Plus, they know they're not going to last forever unless they figure out some stuff like Palpatine and
Plagueis and all that.
Plagueis were trying to do. But aside from that, you know you're not going to live forever. So you have this commitment that the Sith thing must go on, you know.
Yeah, if you're true Sith, then that
a true believer.
True believer, yeah. So yeah, so I was already sad about Jecki, and then Yord comes in. This part, I can't believe she stopped him. Shouldn't have stopped him, and he shouldn't have stopped.
I know.
He already self-identified in a way as Sith. He's armed. Whether there's a lightsaber in his hand or not, he's armed.
Yeah.
You don't know if he can lightning strike you or anything.
It's like what it's the old thing of like what Mace was saying. Like, I think that's why the Emperor Palpatine purposely lost his saber, because he wanted to look like that for Anakin, but also he's unarmed. Oh, and he said, you're too dangerous to be left alive, you know, and you own the courts and all this. So, their thing about not getting an armed person, I think would have benefited from them saying, but when you have these powers, you're always armed, you know?
Right.
But I don't think that they were prepared for that because they don't normally operate in an environment where there's force users of equal power.
Well, there's also a difference between someone who is unarmed versus someone who has surrendered. He is not surrendered here. He is, any inch you give him, he's going to turn it and kill you.
I also think I think a lot of Jedi would just go ahead and kill him. Mace Windu certainly would. He'd lop off the head, right?
I think Qui-Gon would have.
Yeah, absolutely. I think most would, if they're clear and pure in their understanding and their vision and their attunement with the will of the Force. But he stops here because he already feels so bad about whatever he's hiding that he's trying to overcompensate by being purer on the rules.
Yeah,
as some sort of
conflicted.
making up for it notion,
Yeah. Oh, I did want to point this out with May real quick. So whenever May comes into the scene, and she finally sees the Master's face is actually Quimmer, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like pretty much right after this,
Mm-hmm.
I believe. Let me see. He talks to him. There she goes. Okay. Look how he looks at her. And he makes the Quimmer face.
Oh, yeah. Like almost like a split personality.
Yeah.
And
yeah, he's all like, I'm dark, blah, blah. And he looks like, hey, like he takes on like the stoner
voice. And, in one sense, you could say, oh, he's playing with her. The way he plays with all of them as he's talking to them and stuff and just being creepy and weird. But what if there's some kind of weird thing going on where he's really possessed by somebody or some entity or something?
Yeah, I hope that's not the case. I think I just like the idea.
To squeeze into all this.
I think it's just fun to have him go.
It was a fun moment.
Yeah.
When he did that, it was like, ooh, it makes it even creepier.
And he has a sense of humor, which you've never seen in a Sith before. Not like this, where he's like, why risk exposing yourself? And he's like, well, I did wear a mask.
Yeah.
I was trying not to do that.
He seems like someone who's like a sociopath, who would be a sociopath even if he didn't learn the Force.
Sure. Yeah, this was an interesting moment. May is genuinely happy and stuff to see her sister and have her back.
Turn herself in.
Yeah, but Osha
have a different understanding of what went down. And that's the final thing that we're going to have to come to a head on all this.
Yeah. Osha still feels like she's the one that killed her family and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. She hasn't extended the fingers into the hug, basically. It's... Yeah. And then, of course, does this. Mm-hmm. She's the one that turns that into a competition and a fight.
Yeah. And then the old switcheroo.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So... as much as I love this series and this episode especially, there's no real surprises, right? We all kind of saw Quimmer coming. We all knew there was going to be a switch.
I think the surprises were how many people died.
That definitely was
which people they were. That was surprising, I thought.
Yeah.
And
but it's not story surprise, right?
What's going to happen next? I didn't know a switcheroo was coming.
Is this the safest way to have a haircut?
No, but it's quick.
Good thing you don't have a longer nose.
Wow. Yeah.
She also has long hair in the back. She didn't take care of it here, I don't think. I mean, I don't know. Maybe she brushed it ahead. Yeah, she brushed it. It's brushed ahead now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Still, I wouldn't trust myself to.
Well,
of course, I cut a little shorter.
I'm sure, she used the Force.
Use the Force to cut her hair. Well, yeah. So this will be interesting. So the old switcheroo, how bad a Jedi is Soul.
Well, the dark side is all about hiding yourself. Shadow, Palpatine stood right in front of Yoda, and Yoda never even sensed he was a Dark Lord. So
true, but hiding yourself, but pretending to be someone's Padawan is two different things.
But the person you're pretending to be is also a person you know really well.
She doesn't know her really well. She knew her when she was 5. Or
but she's had enough interactions with her now, and it's her twin, and she knew her back then, and she's now had more interactions to catch up with her. It's not like she's pretending to be some random person that she
doesn't even walk the same.
Yeah.
If you've noticed that or not.
It would be cool if they have him figure it out, because
It would be cool if the second they get on the ship,
he
yeah,
figures
this
it
guy
out.
knows.
He smells her.
Yeah, he can smell that she's different,
Mhm.
right? So that's fun. But I kind of don't want him to be the one that I want Saul to have a cool moment where he walks in and he goes, "Here, put your stuff over there," and she does it, and he goes Shh, and locks her up and goes, "You're under arrest."
Pretending,
blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
Yeah, and then he just goes back and gets mad. Like, how I'd be so
But,
happy with
Soul
that
is
as
also very
writing.
distracted right now.
Sure.
And
Also,
really powerful, apparently.
him just leaving the bodies of all the Jedi there.
Oh, they could be planning to come back and get him. I don't know.
Sure. I mean, there's people here, obviously, the guys that are playing cards and stuff whenever they land. And I don't know. I mean, at least collect the lightsabers, maybe?
Maybe there's a Jedi cleanup crew that comes in. And
yeah, I guess so. I don't know. It seems like you at least collected lightsabers. I mean,
you think those are escape pods, those 3 hexagonal shaped doors?
Oh, maybe. No. Well, yeah, there's another door to his right, or his left, our right.
Uh-huh.
That's interesting. And they don't have to be escape pods either. We've seen Star Wars doors that are like this that start with stairs.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the fact that there's just 3 right next to each other makes them look escape poddy to me.
I'm glad he got
helmet
his
is kind of a bronzy color, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm glad he got his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, does he heal her side?
It looks like it was.
I know. I thought he was doing that too. And if you watch it, it kind of looks like it did. Now maybe it was a
then
trick.
She starts to move after he does that, which further.
Yeah, I don't know if he's using the Force to move her, or is he using the Force to heal that wound?
Clearly trying to. At least the makers were trying to make you think he's healing her. I think that was clear. Now, is that true or not, or they're doing a little tricky thing?
Yeah, I don't know.
But if he did heal her, there's nothing in canon that says that Sith absolutely can't heal. But there's been plenty of things to make you think healing is more of a light side thing. Yeah. And if that's the case, then what if he was some other kind of Force user that was just trying to do their thing, and the Jedi wouldn't let him, and so that drove him toward listening to the dark side Sith dude.
Dogma kind of stuff, yeah.
And so then he could have had some leftover abilities from those days.
Well, there's so in the Shadows of the Empire book, there's a scene that I always remember where Darth Vader is sitting in his chamber, that thing that seals him up or whatever, and he's trying to use the Force to heal. And of course, with the dark side, you have to use like anger and emotion and stuff. So he's trying to do that. He's thinking about the pain and all that, and it starts to heal. And he gets excited and happy that it's working, and it goes back. And it's because, once you're excited and happy and stuff, the power goes away. So maybe healing someone else using the dark side. I don't know. It's also, there's been some kind of like, he was uber dark side at that point, Darth Vader. Maybe this guy really is kind of like, I don't know, can do a little bit of both. And I don't want to say gray Jedi. He's definitely not gray. He's definitely on the dark side of gray. But he seems to, at different times, be like, he wants an acolyte. And, he would probably care for that one if they weren't treacherous.
Right.
I don't know.
Yep. It could be something else that we'll learn more about. Who knows?
I do like what he says here. I wrote it down. He says, what extraordinary beings we are, even in the revelation of our triumph, we see the depth of our despair.
Yeah.
Is he talking about his triumph? Or is he talking, like, whose triumph is he talking about? And whose despair is he talking about?
Yeah.
And it almost feels like a quote, the way he says it.
Yeah.
I tried looking it up. I didn't see anything.
It's very interesting. It's kind of melodramatic, and maybe we'll understand more what it means after the whole thing's done. But
yeah. But anyway, so that was That was a big epic moment for this whole
Yeah.
series to come
How
to.
many more episodes do they have after this?
Oh, is it just 6? I think it's just 6. I could be wrong.
And
Let me
this was
see.
5?
This was 5, yeah.
Oh, so maybe just one more?
Yeah, that which means he's going to find out real quick that that's May, right? Let me see. I just want to see if they say how many episodes so that we can say the correct 8. All right, 8 episodes. That's good.
Okay. So we got 3 more.
Yeah, lots of stuff to happen. So I
Very
wonder
cool.
if this next episode's going to be kind of a journey one as well. You know, aftermath, all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. This next one is probably the most unpredictable one because you've just had this big moment of climax, and so what happens after that is pretty open.
I imagine he's going to tell May / Osha, his version of what happened. She's going to get mad about his version and reveal that she's May, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, tell us in the comments, who was your favorite death scene? Just, or saddest death scene, really. Mine was Jackie. I liked Yord too, but Jackie, I had hopes in the future for more stories about her growing up and stuff.
I
She was
know.
cool.
Yeah.
She was pretty cool. And I like the actor as well. So, all right. Tell us what you think, and thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.